The girl had a can of soup in her hand when Snoop Dogg spotted her. It wasn't the kind of moment he expected during a late-night run to the corner store, hoodie up, sunglasses on, just trying to grab some snacks without being recognized. But there she was, no older than 16, skinny as hell, her eyes darting like she'd been hunted for years. She slipped the can into her oversized jacket with a practiced motion, one she probably didn't even realize was visible. He was halfway to the chips aisle, frozen. Something about her. Maybe it was the way her jaw tightened when she turned toward the door, like she was bracing for a punch. Maybe it was how she didn't look sorry. Snoop took a step forward. She didn't notice him until she was already at the exit. "Yo!" Her head snapped toward him, brown eyes wide, pupils sharp. The kind of fear that didn't come from being caught. It came from being cornered too many times. "I saw that," he said, keeping his voice low. Calm. She didn't say anything, didn't run either. Just stood there, hands clenched in her pockets. "I ain't gonna call nobody." "But come here a sec." She stared at him like he was a ghost. Then she glanced past him. The clerk was restocking shelves, oblivious. Finally, with visible reluctance, she took 2 steps toward him. "I'm not trying to embarrass you," he said, softer now, "but you look hungry, real hungry." Silence. "You got a name?" "Maya." "You live around here?" She nodded. "You homeless?" No answer. But her eyes said enough. Snoop sighed and reached into his back pocket. He pulled out a wad of bills but didn't offer it to her yet. "You ever ask for help?" She frowned. "People like me don't get help. We get judged." That hit harder than he expected. He looked closer. There was dirt caked in her fingernails, a tear on the side of her jeans held together by a paperclip. She wasn't stealing for kicks, this was survival. "Come with me," he said, her body tensed. "Why? I'm getting groceries, real food, for you? I don't need your charity. This ain't charity, Maya, this is respect. You got the guts to do what you gotta do. That takes something, but there's better ways." She hesitated. "You eat today?" he asked. She didn't answer. "That's what I thought." "You trust me for 20 minutes? Her chin lifted slightly. "You're Snoop Dogg." He chuckled. "So you do recognize me?" She shrugged. "You smell like weed." He laughed again, but then it faded. "Look, come with me, no pressure. If you change your mind, you can walk." He turned and headed toward the register. She stayed frozen for a second, then she followed. They walked out side by side. No words, just the echo of plastic bags and night air. Snoop opened the door to his black SUV. She stopped. "You serious?" He nodded. "You could be a creep." "I could, but I'm not." She looked at him for a long beat, then got in. Snoop slid behind the wheel, started the engine, and pulled away from the store. "First stop," he said, "we're getting you dinner." "Real dinner?" She didn't speak, but her shoulders relaxed a little. As they drove into the lights of Los Angeles, neither of them knew just how much this one night would change everything. If this story's already pulling at something inside you, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Drop a comment too, we want to hear your thoughts on where this is going. The diner was quiet, the kind of place that never closed, with cracked vinyl booths and faded photos of celebrities who hadn't eaten there in years. Snoop chose a corner table near the window, out of the way. Maya slid into the seat across from him, her eyes scanning the room like she'd need an exit plan. A waitress with tired eyes and a pen behind her ear came over. Snoop ordered a burger, fries, and a Coke for himself, then nodded toward Maya. "Get whatever you want." She hesitated, then quietly said, "Pancakes and eggs." He smiled. "Breakfast for dinner. Classic move." The waitress didn't bat an eye. She scribbled it all down and walked off. Maya fidgeted with the silverware, eyes fixed on the napkin dispenser. Her stomach growled audibly. Snoop didn't say anything, just watched. "You always pick up strangers?" she asked finally, not looking at him. "Nope. First time." "Why me?" He paused. "'Cause I been where you at. Not the exact same, but close enough. I know what it's like to feel like the world's just watching you sink." She didn't respond, but her eyes flicked toward him. "When I was a kid, we didn't have much. Had to hustle. Had to pretend I wasn't hungry when I was." Maya leaned back. "You turned out all right." He nodded slowly. "Took a minute, though." The food came. Maya didn't wait. She dug in like someone who hadn't had a real meal in days. Snoop sipped his drink, letting her eat. Halfway through the plate, she slowed down. "You ever sleep outside?" "Yeah," he said. "Couple times, back in Long Beach." "Ain't easy." She wiped her mouth with a napkin, more out of instinct than comfort. "My mom got locked up last year. I was with her boyfriend for a while. That didn't go well." Snoop's expression didn't change, but his voice got softer. "He hurt you?" She didn't answer directly. "I ran. Been couch surfing. Some nights on the street." He nodded again, slowly. "So you're tough." "I'm tired." They sat in silence. The sound of forks clinking, a song from the jukebox playing something slow and sad. Snoop finally asked, "You ever thought about going back to school?" She gave him a look. "How? I ain't even got a place to sleep." He leaned forward. "That's something I might be able to help with." "Are you serious about wanting something better? You think you're gonna fix me?" "No," he said, "but maybe I can help you fix things for yourself." She stared at him for a long moment. "Why would you do that?" Snoop shrugged. "Maybe because someone once gave me a shot. Maybe because I got the means now. Or maybe because I was raised better than to ignore pain when I see it." The waitress came by, dropped the check. Snoop picked it up and paid in cash. When they stood to leave, Maya hesitated again. "I don't want to owe you," she said. "You don't," he replied. "This ain't about that." They walked back to the car. As the engine started, she asked, "Where are we going now?" He smiled. "Somewhere with a bed. Clean sheets. You can crash there tonight. We'll figure the rest out tomorrow." She didn't speak, just stared out the window. For the first time in weeks, her stomach was full. Her mind, though, was still racing, because nothing in her life ever came without a price. The house was nothing like Maya expected. She thought maybe he'd take her to a hotel or some apartment in the hills, but instead it was a modest one-story tucked behind a tall gate in a quiet part of Long Beach. Clean lawn, porch light glowing, a calm kind of place. She followed Snoop up the path, clutching the strap of her torn backpack like it might disappear. He unlocked the door, stepped inside, and turned on a lamp. Warm light filled the space, walls lined with framed records, a couch that looked comfortable, and the smell of sandalwood incense hanging faint in the air. "Come in," he said. "You're safe here." She stepped in slowly, like each floorboard might collapse beneath her. "You want a shower?" he asked. "Towels are clean, bathrooms down the hall." Maya hesitated, then nodded. She hadn't had hot water in a while. He pointed her down the hall and she disappeared into the bathroom without another word. While she was in there, Snoop went to the guest room. Fresh sheets, folded blanket, a new toothbrush still in the wrapper. He set it all out like it was nothing, like he'd done this before, but he hadn't. When she came out 20 minutes later, her hair was damp and she was wearing an old Lakers shirt he'd left on the counter. It swallowed her frame, but she looked relieved, just a little. "Room's ready," he said. "You can sleep in. No one's gonna bother you." She followed him silently down the hall. The room was small but cozy, a lamp by the bed, soft lighting, even a stuffed bear someone had left behind. "This real?" she asked, voice barely above a whisper. He nodded. "It's real. Lock the door if you want." She stepped inside, but before she closed it, she turned. "I don't know how to trust this." "I know," he said. "It's all right. Start with sleeping." "That's all for tonight." She closed the door softly behind her. Snoop stood in the hallway for a second, just breathing. Then he walked back to the living room, turned on the TV without volume, and sat with his thoughts. The next morning, Maya woke up to sunlight through the window and the faint smell of bacon. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then it all came back. The diner, the car, the house. She got up and padded toward the kitchen. Snoop was at the stove, flipping pancakes like he'd done it 1,000 times. "You like syrup or no?" She blinked. "You cook?" "Only breakfast. I'm dangerous with eggs and waffles." She sat at the table without asking. Her stomach growled again. He slid a plate in front of her. "Eat up." She looked at him. "What now?" "Well," he said, sipping his coffee, "I figured we'd talk. Figure out what you want. I'm not going to make choices for you." She frowned. "Nobody's ever asked what I want." "Well, start thinking." She picked at her food. "I don't know, a place to sleep. Maybe not feeling scared all the time." "That's a start," he said. "What about school?" She stared at her fork. "I got kicked out, missed too many days. You can't go to school when you don't got clean clothes or a place to shower." He nodded. "I know someone. Might help you get back in, if you want." Maya didn't answer right away, but then she said, "Maybe." It was the first time in months she'd said that word, not out of fear, but out of hope. The next few days passed like a quiet rhythm Maya wasn't used to. She slept in a bed, ate real food, took hot showers. But even in comfort, her guard didn't drop. Not fully. She kept waiting for the catch. Then one afternoon, Snoop looked up from his phone and said, "You want to come to the studio?" She raised an eyebrow. "Why?" "Figure you might like to see something different. New space, new vibe." "No pressure." Maya hesitated, then shrugged. "Sure." They drove through South LA, windows down, music low. Maya watched the city pass, murals, taco stands, people hustling on every corner. It was beautiful in a way she'd never noticed before, maybe because for the first time she wasn't just surviving it. The studio was tucked in a nondescript building with no sign out front. Inside, though, it was alive. Dim lights, velvet couches, instruments leaned against the walls, and a lingering buzz in the air like something important was always about to happen. Snoop greeted a few engineers and waved her toward a corner. "Come on." She followed him into the booth where a mic hung in front of a soundboard. "This is where it happens," he said. "Where words turn into something that stays." Maya looked around. "You ever get scared before you speak?" "All the time," he said. "But that's when you know it matters." He leaned back in his chair. "You write anything?" "Used to," she said softly, "before things got bad." "Still can." She folded her arms. "I don't got anything to say." He shook his head. "That's a lie." "You got more to say than most people." Maya glanced at the mic. "It's weird being here, like I don't belong." "You belong anywhere you want," he said. "But I get it. Feeling out of place? That used to be me. Still is sometimes." She didn't respond, but her eyes lingered on the equipment. The buttons, the lights, the quiet weight of possibility. Later, they sat on the couch while a beat played through the speakers. Slow, haunting, with a pulse like a heartbeat. Snoop closed his eyes, nodding along. Maya leaned in without meaning to. He glanced over. "You feel that?" She nodded. "Music's a mirror. It shows you what's in you." She was quiet a moment. "What if I don't like what's in me?" He looked at her. "Then you write through it. Say it out loud, own it." She bit her lip. "You think someone like me could make something real?" "I think you already are," he said. "You just ain't heard it yet." Before they left, he handed her a notebook. "Write in it. Doesn't have to rhyme, doesn't have to be pretty, just write." That night, back at the house, Maya sat on the edge of the bed, notebook in hand. At first, the page stayed blank. But then her hand moved, slowly, hesitantly, and she started to write. "I stole soup so I wouldn't starve. I ran so I wouldn't die. I lived so I could try again. I'm still here." She stared at the words. They weren't much, but they were hers. She closed the book and turned off the light. Outside, the city breathed. Inside, she did too. Maya stood on the small stage in the community center, gripping the microphone like it was the only thing keeping her grounded. The room was packed. Teenagers, volunteers, a few reporters in the back, and Snoop, leaning against the wall with his arms crossed, watching. She hadn't wanted to do this. 3 weeks ago, she was stealing soup and sleeping under stairs. Now she was about to perform a spoken word piece she'd written herself in a room full of strangers. Her hands trembled, but she cleared her throat and began. "They looked at me like I was nothing, a number, a mistake, a broken thing on the sidewalk. But I kept walking, kept breathing, kept fighting like I had something to prove. I didn't steal to rebel. I stole to stay. I didn't run from love. I ran from fists and slamming doors. You call that broken? I call it surviving. And now I'm here, with a voice, with a name, with a future that no one handed me. I carved it, word by word, pain by pain. I'm not who I was, but I honor her, because without her I wouldn't be me. When she finished, the silence stretched just long enough to make her heart pound harder. Then came the applause, first scattered, then full. Some people stood. Maya blinked hard to keep the tears from spilling. Backstage, Snoop met her with a slow nod. "You did that," she grinned. "I almost threw up." "Part of the process." She leaned against the wall, breath shaking. "You really think I could do more of this?" "I don't think," he said. "I know." A few days later, they sat on the patio behind the house, him with his laptop open, her with the notebook half full now. A social worker was helping arrange enrollment for a charter school. Snoop's team had found her a mentor. Things weren't perfect, but they were real. "You know," she said, "I used to think people like you didn't see people like me." He looked at her. "I see you." She nodded slowly. "I don't know what's next, but for the first time, I'm not scared of it. That's the first step. Rest will come." She looked up. "Why'd you stop that night? Why me?" He smiled. "I don't know. Maybe because I saw myself. Maybe God whispered. Maybe you looked like you still believed something could change, even if you didn't know it yet." She laughed softly. "You sound old." "I am old." They both laughed then. Not the nervous kind, the kind that lives deep in the chest, the kind that makes space for something new. Some stories start with fame and fortune, but this one started with hunger. And it began, with a girl finding her voice. Because sometimes all it takes is one person to stop. One question asked at the right time. One night where survival turns into a second chance. If this story moved you, even just a little, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment and tell us, what would you say to someone who needs that second chance? And don't leave yet. The next video on screen was picked just for you, and trust me, you're going to love it.